Tesla, the king. Now, I could do a whole hour on Tesla because I recently had several new epiphanies about Tesla. So when you start looking at all the issues are out there and opportunities, Tesla is in all of them. And that's why it's the number one position in our fund. Tesla, in my mind, not only is the most exciting company in the world and most innovative company in the world, but it's also one of the companies in the world with the most opportunity. And of course, there's risk. There's lots of things that can happen wrong, as they can with all technologies. But the risk reward with Tesla seems incredibly good.
In this video, raging Tesla bull and long-term FUD fighter Ross Gerber has recently become even more bullish on Tesla. And before we get into it, if you want to instantly unlock over 100 exclusive videos plus my 10-year Tesla stock price targets and loads of other perks, including optional access to my Tesla valuation model, join our growing community of thousands of supporters on Patreon with the link in the pinned comment. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon and investment themed merch in the merch store. Now, I'm a big fan of Ross. The guy spits facts, always speaks his mind, and he's very sharp. By his own admission in the intro to this video we've heard, Ross has recently had some new epiphanies regarding Tesla. In other words, he's had some realizations. Oh, shit, hang on a minute. Wow, this is even better, even more bullish than I thought. Now, if Ross is anything like I am, these epiphanies don't generally just come out of nowhere. Of course, I'm not sure exactly how many grams or micrograms of, I'm not insinuating anything. The point is, for some reason, Ross has recently become even more bullish on Tesla. So let's hear what he's got to say. And by the way, let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to do an interview with Ross in the future. I'm sure as long as we stick to Tesla, things will go very smoothly.
The second and equally as consequential part of the fund is climate change related investments led by Tesla, the king of the fund. Now with over a 12% allocation in the fund, as we haven't made any adjustments. Now, I could do a whole hour on Tesla because I recently had several new epiphanies about Tesla that I wanted to tell you guys today. And they have nothing to do with cars. So it was just announced that Tesla has rapidly stopped building their gigafactory in the battery part of the gigafactory in Berlin and shipping that equipment rapidly to the United States to begin battery cell manufacturing in a higher scale here in the United States. The new law, which for some reason got called the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, when really it's the Climate Reduction Act, the CRA. And so the CRA, the Climate Reduction Act, allows battery, to get the full $7,500 off your car, if you buy an EV, you have to have a substantial portion of your car built in America. Now, that's easy from the manufacturing side for Tesla because we've got Austin and we've got Fremont, but not the battery side. Now, we do have Gigafactory in Nevada, but we were expanding in Berlin as well as in China. And so it doesn't do us any good to ship cells from outside the country into the country when it comes to getting the tax benefits as part of this law. So now Elon's rapidly scaling up battery and cell production inside the United States because the incentives for building cells in the United States, building batteries in the United States, and then selling EVs in the United States are so great that if you start adding it up, if Tesla does this right, like they could cut the cost of the car substantially because of the new law. Margins would soar.
Ross is right on both counts. Not only can prices in theory come down a lot if they need to, but also margins could simultaneously or independently soar. In case you're a little bit behind the eight ball here, Tesla already has industry-leading margins at around 30% without these insane incentives. Again, this is a total waste of money in my opinion, but as a Tesla stock investor, I will absolutely take it. But this is very important to understand. Tesla already has the highest profit margins in the automotive industry. And yeah, look, if you want to argue, okay, maybe Ferrari has slightly higher margins, but bro, we're not talking about $300,000 vehicles. So they already have industry-leading margins. In addition, they're one of the only companies producing EVs at scale that are actually making any money on any of the EVs sold. Now, in theory, over time, this will change as other companies ramp up to volume production and reduce costs. They'll also get there. But now you throw these battery incentives into the mix and things get absolutely fucking ridiculous. What happens if you take industry-leading profit margins and massively expand them? Well, now you have industry embarrassing profit margins, although Tesla already has those. So what do we call this? Industry super embarrassing profit margins? There aren't enough words in the English language to describe how absolutely ridiculous, absurd, insane, embarrassing Tesla's margins could potentially become. I don't want to overstate this, but Tesla in essence will have infinite leverage in terms of being able to pull the pricing lever in whatever direction they need to. If your margins need to be here to be a profitable, sustainable business, but your margins are already here, that would be Tesla. And now there's a new incentive that's going to push your margins to here, This is a good problem to have. It puts Tesla in such a ridiculous position of strength. They were already in a dominant position. This just takes things to a whole other level. The gigantic gap between what margins need to be a sustainable business and what they can and will be for Tesla. This gigantic gap is options. As Tesla continues to ramp up their production, from call it 1.5 million vehicles this year to 2+ million vehicles next year and on and on and on, they will continue to drive their costs down, irrespective of what's already happening in the marketplace. Just the very fact that they're producing more vehicles at scale means economies of scale come into play more, meaning the cost per vehicle is going to be lower. That means those margins are going to get even bigger. And because Tesla doesn't have just a small amount of wiggle room in terms of margins, they have an absurd amount of wiggle room. They can pay attention to demand and orders coming through in real time and adjust pricing dynamically. Until Tesla needs to reduce the price of their vehicles. At some point in the future, this is inevitable. You can't keep selling stuff with an average selling price over 50K. But until Tesla needs to do that, they just print hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of additional profits that they don't even need. Geez, it really sucks to be Tesla. And as other companies start ramping up production of their own vehicles, trying to compete with Tesla on price, performance, features, and functionality, but not having the same cost advantages, the same innovative manufacturing techniques like the gigantic casting. Most of these companies won't be making any margin on their vehicles initially, and eventually, maybe if they're lucky, they might get to 10+% margins. You got Tesla over here with better vehicles that cost them a fraction of the same money to produce as anyone attempting to compete with them. It's game fucking over. You guys understand, right? It is game fucking over. These battery incentives are going to be an absolute bonanza for Tesla. And truth be told, in really rough terms, just based on back of the napkin math from some idiot who's high all the time, so take it with a grain of salt, Tesla's battery costs could effectively drop by around a third. The most expensive thing in the vehicle could see a cost reduction after these incentives of a couple of $1,000s per vehicle. I mean, do the math on that. If you produce 500,000 vehicles and you're saving $2,000 per vehicle, that's an extra $1 billion in pure profit. This is a huge deal. And the best part is it wasn't necessary. Tesla would be fine without it. They'd be printing billions of dollars without it. This is just cream on top. An unnecessary cream at that, but I'll take it.
And they could lower the price of the car substantially and make a low-cost Tesla, in theory, and margins would soar because of the new law. It's amazing for Tesla if they play this right. And Tesla knows how to play it right because Tesla's been playing the government right since it started. That's how Tesla exists, was because the government lent it money under Obama. Most people don't realize that. Charging stations. Keep having this conversation with clients, potential clients about what's the best charging company. Oh, we need to own a charging company. And I say Tesla now. Oh, Tesla, the charging company? Oh, yeah, Tesla, the charging company. The biggest charging company in the world. There's no charging company like Tesla.
This is an excellent point. There's a lot of people out there, I'm not sure what, they have a compulsion to just have everything to do with EVs because the whole market's growing so great. I need a charging company, I need some lithium stocks, I need some EV stocks, not just Tesla, blah, 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 blah. But when you look at things objectively, Tesla is far and away the best EV charging network by miles, and their stock is publicly traded. And this is just one of the many things you get in the package called Tesla stock.
Now they're building massive chargers, and this hit me. They're building 3 in California with 170 stalls. Now imagine a gas station. You pull up to a Chevron and it had 170 pumps. That's vision, right? Never happened. Never would happen. So what Tesla's doing now is they're building supercharger stations that can serve all the Tesla owners and then a section for non-Tesla owners. And that allows them to qualify for the Tesla, for the US subsidies for charging stations, which they've now recently approved billions and billions and billions of subsidies to put in charging stations. Now, they haven't announced whether Tesla has received these subsidies yet, but my assumption is they will. And that's why they announced these massive charging stations that will now allow other cars to charge. Now, all of a sudden, you have a car company or a technology company that makes cars that also owns all their own gas stations, and they can serve all the other EVs too. So what is the Tesla charging system worth? I don't know. 20 billion? 30 billion? I don't know, but it's big. Tens of thousands of chargers already out there all over the world. And a seamless system that works amazing. That's Tesla charging.
More excellent points. And as Ross asked, what is Tesla's supercharging network worth? It's a very good question. Difficult one to answer. We have to look into the future. We already know today that Tesla has far and away the world's best and most comprehensive charging network that actually works. If you guys are curious, if you're not really paying attention, just jump on Twitter, YouTube, look for some people's experiences using competing charging networks. Typical experience, you turn up, you plug the thing in, it says you haven't connected your thing, and it's like, bro, it's plugged in. Nope, not plugged in. Okay, this isn't working. I'll try the next one. Oh, out of service. Next one, out of service. Next one, you need to plug it in. This is a very common experience. For those who don't know, I recently added my supercharging assumptions to my Tesla valuation model, which is available exclusively on Patreon to support us at the investor level and above. Click the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment to join. I privately modeled this for a long time. I didn't bother putting it in the Tesla valuation model because it makes almost no difference to the company over the longer term. But that's not because the supercharging network itself doesn't contribute a huge amount of value, revenue, and profits. It's just that everything else in Tesla's business dwarfs their supercharging network. But if we drill down on this alone, I have Tesla's supercharging network bringing in well in excess of $1 billion of annual profits later this decade. And this is assuming razor-thin margins. In my base case, in terms of gross profits, I have Tesla's supercharging network bringing in about 2.5% of Tesla's total gross profits at the end of this decade, give or take. And as I've said in the past, it was inevitable that Tesla would open up their supercharging network to other companies. The goal, after all, is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, not to slow things down. And due to the absolute incompetence of legacy automotive companies and some of the laughable EV charging networks out there, if you want a seamless, comprehensive charging experience, at this point in time, globally, there is only one network, Tesla's supercharging network. So, what I've seen as inevitable for many years is starting to come to fruition. Intelligent automotive manufacturers, rather than trying to build out their own network or partner with an absolute joke of a fucking charging network where nothing actually ever works, if they're not morons, I suspect that most of these companies will negotiate partnerships and get access to Tesla's charging network for their own customers. If you're Government Motors or pick your legacy automotive manufacturer, and at some point you finally realize you have a very high probability of going bankrupt later this decade just attempting to transition to EVs, do you really want to be solving additional extremely difficult challenges like building out a great, comprehensive, functional charging network? Or do you say, you know what, Tesla's already solved this. Let's just negotiate access for our customers. Tesla will make a tiny margin on those. That means we don't have to worry about the charging infrastructure. We can just focus on not going bankrupt by making reasonable electric vehicles for reasonable margins that we can sell at reasonable prices. I think this is the way most things will go. The same is true for Tesla's autonomous software. Why try in vain to catch up to Tesla when in the future you can just license their software? Again, it's important to understand that legacy automotive manufacturers are facing extinction. In an ideal world, you do everything in-house, vertically integrate to the hills. But when you're fighting for your very survival, somebody's already nailed something and they've said they're willing to license to allow you access to that technology. You'd have to be absolutely insane not to take them up on the offer. So here's the vision I have for Tesla's supercharging network over the long term. You're on a road trip anywhere on Earth, you need to recharge your electric vehicle, irrespective of brand, you're going to be looking for a Tesla supercharger. Just like everyone's looking for the golden arches to get their dose of diabetes and seed oils, Tesla's supercharging network will become ubiquitous with road trips and travel. Think about the value of that asset. And one final note on Tesla's supercharging network, over the long term, my vision is that each of these charging stations will actually be generating and storing its own energy, maybe not necessarily locally, but over the long term, it's in Tesla's best financial interest, and of course the best interest of the environment, if the energy available at Tesla's supercharging networks has been generated through solar and stored in batteries. Now, in terms of the capex spend here, it's not going to make financial sense for Tesla immediately tomorrow to start plastering solar panels over all their charging stations and have a ton of batteries there. Not yet. But at some point in the future, it will make economic sense. And at that point in time, Tesla's marginal cost to actually generate the energy that's being provided to people using their supercharging networks will be next to nothing, meaning the profits on this charging network over the long term, and I do want to stress this, we're talking 10, 20 plus years, over the long term, the profit margins on this, the actual price to charge could be very low. I mean, almost nothing. Yet Tesla could still have astronomical profit margins. The assumptions I'm using on the supercharging network don't yet factor this in, but it's something to be mindful of. In 2042 and beyond, I won't be surprised if it's costing Tesla next to nothing to provide the energy to people using their charging network. Yet at the same time, they'll still be making ridiculous margins. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about the marginal cost of energy, check out some of the research published by Tony Sieber and Adam Dorr over at Rethink X. We will be entering an era of energy abundance. Superabundance, in fact. Long story short, I think over the next 10 plus years, Tesla's margins on their supercharging network will be very thin, but over the longer term, as they can begin generating a lot of the energy and storing a lot of the energy provided, and then eventually generating and storing it all, look the fuck out.
Did we talk about 4680 cells yet? That don't work quite well and scale yet, but will. Oh, we've invented a whole new battery technology. Now, there are these people who talk smack all the time about Tesla. There's one guy in particular who's incredibly biased and paid by the Chinese, but he happens to insult Tesla every day on Twitter. And this fella is a nice fella and all, but he was trying to make fun of the 4680 battery. Oh, it's not that good, this and that. No, it is. And they're going to get it to work, and they're going to get it to scale, and it's going to be a game changer for Tesla.
Ross spitting more facts now. This would be a great time to remind everybody, in case you're new around here, Tesla's Battery Investor Day took place around 2 years ago, August 2020. At the time, the general reaction putting aside the reaction from well-informed Tesla stock investors, was, huh? Still Tesla stock. There are a lot of skeptics, a lot of haters, a lot of doubters, and a lot of people that just didn't quite understand what they'd seen. I don't know why it was difficult to grasp what Tesla had unveiled. They went through all the specifics, all the details, all the cost reductions, everything. All the numbers were there. This is what we're planning to do. They're now already selling vehicles that contain these battery cells, yet people still not fully grasping the implications. Then again, what's new?
And then lastly, the Cybertruck. I've become wildly in love with electric trucks. And I'm now fully convinced that electric trucks will be adopted by truck drivers, and they love electric vehicles too. I thought for a long time, maybe electric vehicles would be too green or too floozy for people, especially truck people. But no, they love electric trucks too.
Better late than never, Ross. I'm pretty sure I called this back in 2019. In fact, some of the most hilarious comments on my original Cybertruck is Engineering Genius video were, apart from the fact that the thing looked like a doorstop and was uglier than your girlfriend, there's no way real truck buyers are ever going to touch this thing. It's a joke, it's stupid, it won't do anything, it's crap, blah, blah, blah. Many of these comments were actually from truck guys. You know who I'm talking about, picture one in your head. You do have a picture, don't you? Yeah, one of them. Months later, many of these truck guys started commenting on my other videos discussing Tesla and the Cybertruck. You know what? I thought this thing was ugly as fuck. I still think it's ugly as fuck, but I actually realized it might suit my needs. Fast forward a few more months, even a few more years, and now many people have started to realize, oh, hang on a minute, this thing's actually pretty cool, and for some reason, the appearance has grown on me, which I didn't expect. Let me know in the comments below if you were someone who thought the Cybertruck looked hideous when you first saw it, and now actually likes how it looks. But the point I made in those early videos was, it may take a while for traditional truck buyers to get and understand the value, the utility of a Cybertruck and other electric pickup trucks as well. But the penny will drop. When these things get onto work sites, people actually see what they can do, the performance, towing capacity, acceleration, the utility, having onboard power, air compressors, and so on. When certain consumers who need certain features and functions to actually do the job realize that an electric pickup truck, Cybertruck or otherwise, can do the job equivalently or better, it's going to be hard to argue. Never mind the lower cost of ownership. I don't think people have fully grasped the impact of Cybertruck. I don't think people are going to grasp this until these things have been on roads for a few years. But I tell you guys and girls now, when Cybertrucks start turning up on work sites, the first Cybertruck rolls onto a work site, and everyone's like, what the fuck is that fucking Cyber? Next minute, they're like, well, can I check it out? Next minute, they see what it can do. Next minute, they go and order one. This will go on and on and on and on and on. The best thing about the Cybertruck aesthetic, which is a side effect of how it's being manufactured, important distinction, Tesla didn't design the Cybertruck to look weird on purpose. They designed the Cybertruck to have an exoskeleton, to be almost indestructible, and it just happens to look like that. When these things actually turn up on work sites and people see them on roads, in their neighbors' driveways and so on, and people realize, despite their initial perceptions, they realize what the thing can actually do, it's game over. And this doesn't just apply to Cybertruck. By default, in theory, an electric pickup truck should shit all over an ICE equivalent. More torque, more power, better acceleration, all sorts of cool features and functionality, like being able to charge your tools, plug your tools into the actual vehicle itself, and so on. Now, I understand, initially, with a smaller battery pack, you may not get equivalent range if you need really long towing range. I totally get that. Those are the exceptions to the rule. But for the majority of consumers who own pickup trucks, that actually use them as pickup trucks, which is the minority in the first place, Cybertruck or an electric pickup truck will do the job just fine, if not better. And then there's the majority of people who own pickup trucks who don't actually need one. They just want one. It may take a while for some of these folks to see the utility and the value in an electric pickup truck. But we know for a fact by default, spec for spec, an electric vehicle will do everything better than an equivalent ICE pickup truck, except range, which is debatable. It depends, are you towing, how big's the battery pack, and so on. That ultimately will get solved too. People who need extremely long towing range for a pickup truck are in the minority. I know they exist, but they are in the minority. Many people had this same reaction. Well, truck guys are never going to want an electric truck. Give it half a decade and I think most truck guys will be converts. P.S. I can't wait to take delivery of my Nikola Badger, the coolest truck the world's never seen and never will. But hey, it has a built-in water purifier. That's cool. I mean, well, it's in the computer rendering of the interior, so that's cool, right?
And it turns out the Ford Lightning was one of the greatest things that could have happened for EV truck adoption, and it's going to benefit Tesla and Rivian substantially that Ford made a really cool truck, because it makes it cool to have an electric truck because Ford made an electric truck.
Another fair point, and by the way, I've got to give major credit to Ford, not only for the fact that the F-150 Lightning doesn't suck shit. They've done a pretty decent job on this thing, which is good. Many legacy automotive manufacturers have made non-serious attempts with their first or second or third EV. Ford actually tried to make this a compelling vehicle, and they've succeeded. But even more credit needs to go to Ford for getting this thing out quickly. Had Tesla's Cybertruck followed with the original timeline, it could have been game fucking over for Ford. They've done very well to get this thing on the market. And until Tesla's Cybertruck drops, and in fact, until a couple of years after Cybertruck drops and everyone really gets to use one and see what they can do for themselves, Ford is going to have a great run to sell hundreds of thousands of electric F-150s. I also suspect many brand loyal Ford enthusiasts will continue to buy Ford irrespective of what else is available on the market. If they can continue to produce F-150 Lightnings, these customers will willingly buy them. Even if the specs aren't perfect, even if there's better options on the market. I'm a Ford guy, I'm an F-150 guy, I'm buying one. So double commendations for Ford. F-150 is a pretty decent product and they have a massive first mover advantage. Now, I get it, Rivian's got their little truck too, but the Rivian R1T is a truck you throw in your handbag and take out for the weekend. The F-150 is designed to be more of a work truck. So I think both Ford and Rivian have a run probably of at least 12, maybe 24 to 36 months before the tide really starts to turn towards Cybertruck. So I hope both companies can make the most of it while they can.
That's going to be the only contribution Ford makes at this point to the EV business as they battle their dealers in a massive war to create some fairness for their customers. Good luck, Ford. The truck business is the next big thing, and the Cybertruck launch next year will be one of the most consequential moments in Tesla's new foray into the truck business, followed by the semi-truck. The truck business is crucially important to battling climate change, and getting into the truck business is hugely important for Tesla. And this is the next step. So when you start looking at all the issues are out there and opportunities, Tesla is in all of them. And that's why it's the number one position in our fund.
I agree. Tesla really does have multiple fingers in all of the most consequential pies. Tesla is also the number one position in my personal fund at approximately a 100% allocation. I'm sure Ross would have a heart attack. But the good thing is I only manage money for me and Ross is managing money for other people. So we're talking chalk and cheese here. The point remains though, we both see opportunity and we both completely agree. Tesla is already in or going after soon all of the most meaningful areas of impact when it comes to the EV transition. There are no gaps in their product roadmap. They haven't painted themselves into a corner. Shout out to Lucid. If you thought things were looking good today, just wait a couple of years. Tesla has a track record of absolutely dominating and printing a lot of money every area they go. If I were to try and think of another company as well positioned as Tesla to completely dominate such enormous opportunities, I'd struggle to find a company that was going after 5% of the opportunity Tesla is. Let me know in the comments below. Are there any companies you can think of that have fingers in even 1/20th of the pies that Tesla does? I'd love to know.
The worst thing about Tesla right now is the fact that Elon's stuck battling to get out of his ill-timed, ill-fated, stupid idea to buy Twitter. That's the overhang on Tesla, is Elon's stupid mistake. So if that's your overhang, that's a wonderful problem. Tesla, in my mind, not only is the most exciting company in the world and most innovative company in the world.
Most exciting? Agreed. Most innovative? Also agreed. And both of those come in the same package. I'm sure there's an inappropriate joke there somewhere. Let's move on.
But it's also one of the companies in the world with the most opportunity. And of course, there's risk. There's lots of things that can happen wrong, as they can with all technologies. But the risk reward with Tesla seems incredibly good.
Super agree. The risk reward with Tesla really does seem incredibly good. You might have heard me say, I believe Tesla is the best risk adjusted opportunity in the stock market that I'm aware of. And again, I do want to underscore, there's plenty of other opportunities out there that'll be much better, but I just don't know them. When I factor in risk reward, I look across the horizon of opportunities, Tesla really is in a league of its own. Then again, I'm an extremely conservative investor. That may come as a surprise to a few of you, but if you think about it long enough and hard enough, the penny may drop. I'll just leave it at that. Always good to hear what Ross Gerber has to say about Tesla. Hope you guys and girls enjoyed the video. And lastly, don't forget, if you'd like to support the channel, you can join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. As I mentioned earlier in this video, Patreon supporters at the investor level and above who have access to my Tesla valuation model can actually see all of my assumptions around Tesla's supercharging network out over the next decade. Revenue, blah, 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 everything's in there. As I said, in the scheme of things, it's just a drop in the water. But in isolation, even Tesla's supercharging network alone is a staggeringly impressive business. So, see you over on Patreon. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel and instantly unlock over 100 exclusive videos, plus my 10-year Tesla stock price targets and loads of other perks, including optional access to my Tesla valuation model, join our growing community of thousands of supporters on Patreon with the link in the pinned comment. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment-themed merch in the merch store. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. Please let me know your thoughts on today's video in the comments below, and click the card on screen now to watch the next video.